actually the president and vice president of 5 properties, so we didn't mean to be. We'll explain a little bit why that is. But we are real estate investors and developers, and our focus is on Main Street Front Royal, and that's our sole focus. We have no other focus but that. Our properties are 120 through 124 East Main Street and 205 East Main Street. So we'll tell you a little bit about the backstory. Some of you may know our properties, and we'll get into a little bit about which ones they are, but we'll get into a little bit about the backstory of how we found ourselves standing in front of you today. So we are residents of Linden, Warren County. Everybody asks, are we over the line? Yes, we're over the line. Warren County. 5 years, and have owned a home here for 8 years. We are former consulting CEO of Human Capital. That's Tim. Tim, will let you introduce yourself.
So I'm retired now, so this is Kerry's show. But
Not true.
I was a management consultant in Alexandria and had a company for about 30 years, and then decided to retire in Warren County and having a great time now.
And I'm a former Fortune 50 executive in strategic transformation, which I had no idea that would be of any use in my retirement, but it actually has been pretty helpful in the work that we're doing. And again, we were retired, or so we thought, and we would go down every day to Happy Creek Coffee and hang out on Main Street. We don't live very far away, and we would say, you know, there are some really great businesses on Main Street, but some of it's deteriorating. There's some beautiful buildings on Main Street, beautiful history on Main Street, and it's such an asset to our community, and there's not a lot going on in terms of new development. So we, for 3 years, we said we were hoping someone would do something about it. And we said that almost, every other morning. We thought somebody should do something about it. And then one morning we got a little crazy. I don't know. And we said, maybe it should be us. And again, we weren't really looking for something to do, but we thought maybe it should be us who does something about that. We could do something. And we brainstormed a little bit, and we both have a background in management consulting, and we talked about our business model, and we said, one of the problems is people rent these cheaper buildings, because now the cheapest buildings for sale and the cheapest rent were down on Main Street. And if you go just a little further out, it was, they're more expensive, and the property is more expensive, the rent is more expensive. We said we really have a hollowed out Main Street, which is really unfortunate. So we said our business model is going to be something a little different. Instead of renting out our, this is not coming up on the screen here, but I can't really see it. But instead of renting out our properties, just taking all comers and just charging them a little bit more and just pocketing the rent, we need to do something a little different. So this is where we got a little crazy. We thought, we need to actually buy several properties with no background in this at all. We need to buy several properties, and we need to develop the several properties and help change the vibe of Main Street. So there are really some great things going on in Main Street, some great, businesses. There are institutions on Main Street, and their Element was there, and Happy Creek Coffee and Pavement had come, and there are a lot of things that were really going on. And Jean's Jewelers, here. There are a lot of great things that were going on, but we said, let's do something and build on that. So we decided to buy 2 buildings, and those 2 buildings actually have multiple storefronts. And the idea for that is to do a lot of development and try to change the vibe of Main Street, and that's why we're called Fly Properties. And again, we had absolutely no background in this whatsoever. We learned a ton in this process, but we decided this was the way to do it. And the idea was we put a lot of energy into the buildings. We would put a lot of investment into the buildings, and we would rent them at a reasonable cost above what they were going for before, and attract businesses that you can do something in the properties. You can go in, you can go to a bakery, you can go to a brewery, you can go to a restaurant, and things that people will come down to Main Street for. And so that was one of our requirements, that we would do that. We also decided to do things like in our leases, have mandatory hours in our leases, so people would stay open longer. And we have multiple, and also mandatory days, so they would stay open longer. If people don't like that in terms of signing up with us, they don't sign up with us. But we want to make sure that, and all of our tenants said, of course, we will do that. We're going to stay open longer, we're going to stay open more days to increase the vitality of Main Street. So our business model is actually to renovate, to revitalize, and then hopefully with other property developers and other people who are interested in Main Street, is to create a destination. And so that's what we did, or are starting to do. We're not even quite there yet. So our buildings, the two buildings actually have 6 storefronts. They did have 7, but we ran out of room in one of them and had to make it 6 storefronts because of the ADA actually. But we have 205 East Main Street. 205 East Main Street is the Weaver's department store building. It's where the Lucky Star was. It's a historic building. And our other building is 120 through 124 Main Street, and that is the building where the bakery is, now the brewery, Mountain Trails, Vine and Leaf. That's that set of buildings. So let me talk a little bit about each of the buildings, and then I'll talk a little bit about our tenants. So the building here is, we learned a lot about this building. We didn't know this before we actually looked to buy it. Weaver's department store, actually, and you'll see it, it's on the left in both of these. You can hardly see it in this. There's not a lot of really great pictures from its original state. So it didn't give us a lot of clues in terms of what it looked like from the beginning. So if anybody has a picture from its inception, you do? Okay, we would love that picture. And so Weaver's department store was built around 1914, the same time as the Citizens Bank building was, the same architect. The architect was John Sloan. He actually was a famous New York City architect. Some people don't know that. He has built a lot of landmarks in New York City, and apartment buildings and office buildings in an Art Deco revival style. And he was here. We don't know why. We probably need to spend more time at the Historic Society to figure out why he was here. But actually was sponsored by the bank to build that building, and then built this building, we believe, after that. So Front Royal was a happening time, vibrant place in the 1910 to 1925, around that era. And so a lot of buildings were being built at the time. We see all the pictures, show vibrant Main Street, quite alive. So here it is when we bought it. And you can see the difference in terms of the original. We go back to the original. If you see over to the left, we believe that was a glass transom on the top. And what's on the bottom, which you can barely see, but we found out when we looked at destroyed the footers of the building in the renovation project, was Vermont marble on the bottom of And we took it, and we thought maybe it's Virginia limestone. We took it over to Frederick Lockley, so that's Vermont marble. And so he said, okay, that's more expensive. so we decided to go and get the Vermont marble. You can only get in Vermont. And it is like a greenish black on the bottom, so you'll see that on the bottom of the building. So we restored that, and we put the glass transom back, and we looked to, that probably was, and there's actually kind of windows in that glass transom because there was no air conditioner back in the day, so for the cross breeze. We decided to put the glass transom back, not quite like that. We looked to do that. We couldn't quite figure out how to do that. There were people who can rebuild something like that, but it's very difficult in terms of how long it lasts, so probably why it got taken, it was renovated over the years. And you see where we bought it, there's builder stone on the bottom, probably from the 80s or 70s or something, and there was tile on the top. Yeah. So we got rid of all the tile, and we put the glass back, which was original, and we put the stone in the front that Vermont Vermont marble in the back. This is the back view of it here. So we love this building. We kind of liked, people have mixed feelings about it, but we liked the Lucky Star because it brought life to Main Street. And so we thought this is a great building to kind of focus on. A lot of people miss the Lucky Star. This is a great historic building. It has a lot of potential, so that's why we picked that. And it was not in great condition when we bought this building. So here it is today. It even looks happier. And you see the glass transom, and then you see the Vermont marble here. We found some little artifacts in here, a bottle from the Trout and Turner drugstore that was actually still perfect shape. It was in the walls of the building. It actually had white powder in there. I don't know what that was. We didn't try it. We no longer possess it.
That's why that sushi.
This is the back of the building, which we decided to make more of a vibrant kind of outdoor area. It's one of the only outdoor areas in Provorel proper that you can go out and kind of sit and eat. So we wanted to make that nice. We're trying to do a trellis on the side, though. All the heat is probably a couple of the bushes there. But yeah, so that's what it looks like now. Inside, we raised the ceilings, took out all of the, thank you. We took out all of the drop ceiling and we raised it. And by the way, we are building these buildings with all local people. So our general contractors local. We could have brought in a big firm from Northern Virginia and done the whole thing probably in half the time. About the same price, probably. We thought half the price, but no, probably about the same price. And but we decided to use all local people, subcontractors, or almost all local, or from Winchester, or from the area. And so, so this is the outside of the building. But the inside of the building with the high ceilings, we asked our general contractor, could we do that? And he said no. And then we asked him again, he said no. We said, we really need to do the high ceilings. He said, okay, you can figure it out. We took a whole floor down in there. And the reason we took the floor down, there was a mezzanine level floor there. The reason we took the floor down is for, it was against code, actually. It's too low, and we couldn't get the exit signs. And we said, well, why don't we just take that out and then put a big glass wall in the back? So that's not original. The high ceilings are original. This mezzanine was there in the original building, but it couldn't work from an ADA perspective, couldn't work from a code perspective. So we tried to make it nice and put this glass, which you can't see in this picture, but a glass wall back here, so looking up here. All solar windows because it's south facing. Here's the inside before. So here is the Lucky Star. And here next door was a card shop, which actually was a really, we didn't know much about this card shop. It was actually a really good business. It did really well, but it was only open like 2 days a week or 3 days a week from 9 o'clock to 2 o'clock, 9 p.m. to 2 in the morning. And it had thousands of people who would come to this a month to play this game, Magic the Gathering, which was the game they played. So we didn't know much about this. But when I talked to the individual who owned this card shop, he goes, you know what? We shouldn't be on Main Street. And it is because it was the cheapest place for us to be. That's why we're here. And he was very excited for all the renovation of Main Street. So it was a fabulous person. So we had a conversation like that's not really going to work in terms of being there opening for 2 hours. So it doesn't work for us. Here it is. Here's the interior today. On the left is the art gallery. Art in the Valley, fabulous, fabulous business, owned by an individual who grew up in Front Royal and moved away, and she and her husband came back, and they were living in Atlanta. They came back and opened this fabulous art gallery, do amazing things. Both of them are artists. They also feature artists from the Shenandoah Valley and a little further out, and they also do classes here. And then this one is the Thai restaurant. Again, you can see the high ceilings. You can see in this picture the wall in the back. This is owned by Nat and JJ. I can't say their last names, but Nat and JJ, and they are young. they're 25, 26 years old. Their family actually owns restaurants in Winchester, but this is not related to their family's restaurant. They want to do something younger, hipper, more modern, in their own way. They're both from Bangkok, Thailand, and they want to do something in their own way, using their family recipes like their aunt had in Winchester. And so they created this Thai restaurant. And at first we said, oh, Thai restaurant, it would be, because a lot of Thai restaurants, you see the carpet, it's kind of a little bit not as modern looking. And they said, no, we're doing something really different. And we said, great, so they're great partners with us as well. Okay, so the next building, this is actually a picture of 120 through 124. It wasn't all there, but part of it was like an alleyway which went to the back. It was a garage. It was called Boyd's Garage. The garage part of it, I think this is built beforehand, and again, we probably have to figure out the date to that. But the garage part of it was built in 1920. And what it was a gas station. They fixed cars. They had the Kelly tires here, and they had the cars in the back that they fixed, but they also did parking. So it's probably one of the country's first parking garages. And actually on the left in this picture, you actually see like a diplomat's car. So again, Front Royal was a kind of a happening place. And then we see kind of Model A's and Model T's parked and all sorts of things. So this was a great place. And when we looked at this building, this is what it looked like when we bought it. We thought, gosh, this kind of looks like the 70s a little bit, it could be a laundromat, but this building was in much better shape when we bought it. People took very good care of the building, and we thought, we could do a lot with this building because we don't have malware. There we go. We thought we could do a lot with this building because it had multiple storefronts. It didn't have an upstairs and multiple storefronts, and it had this great place in the back, massive place in the back, 6,000 square feet, which was an auction house that actually could be an acre for Main Street. And we thought, wow, that could be a brewery, a restaurant, a distillery, something back there. And that's what we thought when we bought it. And then you see the different the businesses in the front. So this was the vision for this space, and this is our architect's drawing. And our architect's from Winchester, and the Rita Schwartz is our architect. This is Mountain Trails, the bakery, Front Royal Brewing, and the Vine and Leaf, and that's what we thought it would look like. And then here it is today. I think the greatest picture of it, but you see we pretty much stayed pretty true to the look of that building. And the idea was if you see from the original, was to break up this line, to make it more modern, to make it look individual stores, give their own character. We talked a lot to our tenants about what they wanted, and each of them, have it looks more like a Main Street instead of a strip shopping mall. And then on the left, you see Mountain Trails. Actually, that's Japanese burnt wood. And that one shows actually the mountains from the view from Front Royal, supposedly, according to our architect. So that's that. All right, here's the back of that building. This was, a lot of people didn't even know this part was back here. It was an auction house, an auction once a month. It was a pretty popular auction, but again, it doesn't bring a lot of energy into the area once a month. It was a non-conditioned space at the time. It was very inexpensive because there was really just hollowed out space. But again, it was in pretty good condition. This probably was in less condition. And here it is. This is what it looked like, and then here it is today. So now it's a Front Royal Brewing Company. What we did here was we kind of matched the front and did an airlock. You have to have an airlock for a larger building, we learned that. But you have to have an airlock, so we made it look like the front. We put grass, which was kind of a crazy idea, and now we can mow the grass. And then we did this back beer garden, outdoor eating area again, which we thought was very important. It also has a deck, which you don't see in this picture over to the left, so it's 2 outdoor areas. So this is the Front Royal Brewing Company. And actually the Front Royal Brewing Company is a brewery, but it's also a full restaurant. We have an executive chef. We do a full menu. We're actually expanding the menu. We're expanding our hours. We're expanding our days. But so it is a full restaurant. It's quite a large restaurant. And so we're learning also about restaurants. The Front Royal Brewing Company, actually because we looked for breweries and we actually found somebody who was trying to open a brewery in Front Royal. We were talking to some other brewery, and we learned that it takes a lot to open a brewery, both from thinking about it and also capital investment. So now we are part owners of a brewery as well. So, so now we're learning all about the restaurant business, and that's not an easy business. So that's where we are on that one. And that's the way it looked like in the back of the brewery. This was auction house, and there were chairs that were piled to the roof, and there were all sorts of crazy stuff in there. We heard all the stories about how it used to be a pool hall, and then how it used to, furniture area, old home parts. It had a lot of life in it. So that's the kind of the picture of what we walked into, and actually that's a pretty calm picture of what we saw. It was actually worse than that. So I think they had started to clean it out at that point. This also had a drop ceiling, by the way. I don't have this picture, but in the drop ceiling in this building, the way that they made the building in 1920 was to put wood framing up, and then they poured over the wood framing. They poured, the concrete. It has a concrete roof. It's like a bomb shelter, and it's this thick. So when you cut through it, it takes quite a bit. It has rebar in it and everything, but it's quite thick. And they had framed it in wood, and in some spots they framed it in license plates from back in the day. And that was what was available. Every year you had to change license plates on your car. They didn't have registration, so they framed it in license plates. And then when they pulled the frame down, they immortalized, the license plates. So it's like it's a little time capsule there. 1917, 1918, 1919 license plates. And we found several of them, and no one knew they were there because the drop ceiling had been in there since the 70s, probably when drop ceilings were a big thing. And so we pulled that all down, and we saw those. Our general contractor was thinking about something one day, and he goes, wait, what is that? And we also saw some signs that are painted on there, and there's all on display in the brewery. We actually had our artist go in and kind of highlight a little bit the license plates, so you can see in our tasting room, we preserved all of those. You can see them. There are also other places throughout the building, but you'll see several of them in there, and you can see actually the dates on them. They're pretty neat. So that's a little something there. That's the bakery before. Actually, a bakery who had amazing product and who are wonderful people, Maureen and Keith Menifee. And we said to them, you know what, if you come along with us and think about things a little differently, we will do a better version of you. And that's what we hope what we did with the bakery. And they were wonderful, gracious. At first they were a little nervous about it, but then they were wonderful and gracious, and they said, yes, let's do something. And we brainstormed about what it would look like, the colors that they looked at, the fixtures in there. We helped them purchase some of the fixtures, and it's a great space. And their revenues have tripled, and their average ticket has tripled. And that's of the retail business, and they have 6 or 7 more wholesale customers based on that. And they have a beautiful kitchen, which we expanded in the back. So there was a great little gem, a great business that was doing okay, was covering the bills, and now they're quite prosperous. So it's Keith loves to share that story and wants others to hear that too. So here is the brewery on the left. Probably should have brought more pictures of that, but brewery on the left, and then on the right is the new bakery, which again looks very kind of down home. This is Down Home Comfort Bakery, and it looks is very much them. There's some pictures, mountain trails on the left, our brew tanks. We're a full brewery. We have 6 beers right now. We're brewing our next 2. We'll have 8 beers. We'll have many, many more. We'll do 3 kind of every few months, 3 more beers, and then the front row brewing. So let me talk a little bit about so that's about the buildings. Revitalization part is about the businesses. It's really about supporting all these great businesses. So Mountain Trails, we actually went to them and said, we have a great space. And they were Winchester, and we said, you guys are missing out because the Appalachian Trail is here, hikers are here, Skyline Drive is here, the rafting is here, great outdoor sports, you need to be here. And so why don't you do a satellite? And at first they said no. They didn't think that was a good idea. They weren't believers in Main Street. They said, we've only heard, this is honest, and Gary will tell you this is true. Gary and Liz, who own Mountain Trail, said, we've only heard bad things about Main Street. And we don't want to be there, and we're very afraid to be there. We think we have to, and this is what they had heard living where they were. They were not originally from this area, so they didn't know many people from here, and they said they thought people would steal things, and I said, no, you don't know what, you haven't been down here. So come down, see our space, take a look at this. It was a wrestling studio before. And they said, you know what, and we gave him a good deal, and he said, you know what, we think this is something. And now Gary and Liz are great supporters of Front Royal. Gary is on the joint tourism committee with me. They're doing great things with the Appalachian Trail community, with our artists, and they're here, and they're big believers in this. We have maybe 10 to 15 through hikers a day that come and sit outside Mountain Trails and the brewery on any given Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. They're usually here in the beginning of the week, and it's thanks to them. The Vine and Leaf is there. It's an existing business. That business hasn't been renovated yet. That's so that we haven't done too much there yet. Down on Comfort Bakery, we showed you that picture. Art in the Valley is our artist and our tri-tie. And Front Royal Brewing is actually working with everybody here, which is a great thing. But particularly Art in the Valley and Mountain Trails, because we're trying to do some synergistic things. You might have heard that we have a base camp area in our building. The base camp area is actually to create the synergy. It has cage lockers, washer dryer. It has a shower area, a laundry sink, a bathroom. Interestingly, all ADA, even though the trail's not ADA, but it's required. And then it has. It's a place that people can come put their things and then explore Main Street. And all the hikers are really excited about it. It actually was prematurely advertised, so some people come looking for it already. So I think next year it'll be great. Right now we're seeing a lot of, I guess, northbound hikers, and we're ready for our southbound hikers to come in. They'll start to peak in the next couple of weeks, so that it's almost ready. But the idea is that all of these businesses work together. The artist actually did our logo and some of the pictures you see for the beer labels. They did the beer labels. The bakery, the artist actually helped the bakery in merchandising. The bakery actually uses spent grains from the brewery to make some of their products. Dog biscuits and granola bars and things like that. Mountain Trails has some things going on with the brewery in terms of the hiking community. Tri-Tie has actually worked also with the art gallery as well, and so and are also great patrons of the brewery. So everybody's kind of working together and visiting each other, and it really has worked out great in terms of our set of tenants. Besides these tenants, we also have 4 offices that are upstairs in the Weaver building. They're beautiful offices, 10-foot ceilings. We're ready to renovate them. If you guys know anybody who's looking for office space, we're ready to do that. So, destination. So what a lot of people said to us, we're really nervous that you're putting a restaurant, or I have a restaurant, and you're going to run me out of business because you have a restaurant. We're all about more energy, more restaurants. Somebody told me, oh, I think there's going to be a new brewery in town. Great. More restaurants, more energy. give a reason for people to go. If they're here on one Friday night, there's someplace else on another Friday night. So we're all about the destination strategy and supporting the other businesses that are in town. So this is not, you know, we're not just to try to run people out, we're trying to raise the standard and get everybody involved. We are also looking, you know, the types of people that are coming, we're trying to understand our hikers, understand the people who are coming from wineries, and try to kind of cater to those that are coming in, understand the people who are local and say, what do you want? And try to work with that. And then what we really want to do is, you know, just create a vibrant community. And we think that that in the long term, and we're probably thinking very long term, that's going to actually bring value to us, because we can't possibly, with rents, cover the cost of what we invested. But we think in the very long term, and we're here for the long term, we're not about flipping buildings at all. That would not be a smart business thing to do at this time anyway, but we're not about that. We're about here for the long term. Long-term investment, we think long-term investment will help all of us, it will help us in the investment that we made as well.